All right, and good day, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracles. Hi, my name is Oliver Blue, and I am your temporary host. I am your temporary guide. I am your temporary coach for this session, and it gives me great pleasure to be with you today as we move up the ladder of transformation. We are continuing in our sixth review phase, and we are on the review of Workbook Lesson 191 today. This is our 11th day in this review period, and review is good. And so what we're going to do is look at, again, Workbook Lesson 211. If you're following along in the Course in Miracles book, we are on Lesson 211. Today is somewhat a day of independence, I guess I could say, after preparing for this lesson and what is contained in Workbook Lesson 191, as I was reminded as I went back and reviewed it. At some point, we all have to declare our freedom if we are to have the direct experience of freedom. And no day is better than today for us to not only declare our freedom from all forms of imprisonment, but for us to experience the freedom that we share today as good as any. So as we get into this lesson, it's a review for some, and for some, you may be listening for the first time, and you're saying, Oliver, what are you talking about? I'm talking about our identification. I'm talking about what is true about us, and what remains true about us, that which cannot be altered or which cannot be changed. And so we're going to start out with our central theme for these review lessons, and it has been the same for all the previous 10 lessons. And so here we go. I am not a body. I am free. For I am still as God created me. That statement in and of itself is a declaration of your independence from being in bondage or being imprisoned or being under any kind of limitation. Because you're declaring that your true identity doesn't come from your body experience, but it comes from that which God created from the very beginning. It is a fact that in creation, and when I say in creation, I am talking about prior to any time, prior to any space, prior to any form. I'm talking about in the beginning. And in reality, you cannot find the beginning. You can search, but you cannot find the beginning. Because in reality, there is no beginning and there is no end. There's only the present. So before the world was, before time was, before space was, before there was any form, we had our experience of what is called creation. We have established the fact that there is God and there is nothing else. There's reality and there's nothing else. There's the truth and there's nothing else. There's love and there's nothing else. And all these are synonymous to the ultimate reality that exists only. And that reality extended, I'll use my little illustration. That reality extended itself. And in that extension, we call that creation. In that extension, that which God is, but by its very nature, it extended itself. It gave all of itself. And in that giving is our creation. Within that giving, in that extension, the I am became a reality. In which we are a part of that. And if you notice with this illustration that this rubber band in its natural state, it has the ability to extend itself, but never lose any of its content or any of its nature or essence. All the essence is in the extension. And this is just for illustration, to kind of get a picture or an idea of what it means when we hear this truth about our creation, our beginning. Our beginning is in the only thing that really ever existed, and that is God. God is love. God is light. God is eternal. God is infinite. God is what? Unalterable, unchangeable. God is the source of everything. And so in reality, our existence is in that one existence that God is. So us having an experience of an awareness of being born into a world, into time and space, in a body, that is not the beginning of us. That's not even us. That's not even you. It's here it says that we are not bodies, but we're free from being the limitation of a body, because a body is very limited. A body is very frail. A body has a beginning and an end. A body is very needy. A body is very vulnerable. And so we are we're not even in the league with being body identified. But it is that idea that we get imprisoned in our thinking that is who and what we are, that has caused this very temporary experience that we have as what is called a human being. But in reality, there is only one being. And that one being is what we call reality, or what we call God. And so if there's any reality or really any awareness or consciousness to experiencing what life really is, it can only be experienced through that one being. And so the life is in the being. It's not in the body. That being is God. That being is our awareness, our consciousness. That being is our identification. That is timeless and formless and eternal. And so when we declare, or when we recognize that we are not that body, but we are free from the limitations of the body, and further declare that we remain as God created us. And when I say us, I don't mean plural. We remain as God created the one being, or as God extended the one being. We remain as a part and a parcel of that. So what we're saying here is there is no place where God ends and you begin, or where you begin and God ends. We've been saying this for over 200 days now. Jesus said it this way: I and the Father are one. And then when he taught his disciples to pray, he said, pray like this: Our Father. Acknowledging that the one being that exists is the one being that we all share. And so he was making a declaration of our oneness with the Creator, our oneness with the only source of life and the one being that exists. That is our declaration of independence. Or may I say interdependence? Because we're not independent or individuated, but in reality, we all share the one source. So there is an interdependence upon the one source. That we all live, we all move, and we all have our beings in this one being, in this one reality. Jesus really knew what he was saying, and he meant what he was saying when he said, when you've seen me, you have seen the Father. You have seen the one being. You have seen the love and the life that we all share. And so now it's our time. And I would ask you, like Jesus asked his disciple, who do you say that you are? Who do you say that I am? Who do they say that I am? Who do you say that you are? Are you making your declaration of interdependence? Are you declaring your oneness with the Father? We have no other choice. There is no other life. There is no other being. There is no other reality. In truth, there is no choice. Choices only happen in dreams of separation. Choices only happen where there is a distraction to the one Christ vision. And so when we use this declaration as the basis for our review lessons, what we're doing is we're settling once and for all what our true identity is by saying what it is not. It is not the body. But what it is, it remains as God created it. I remain as God created me. You remain as God created you. Now, we can have all kinds of experiences based on fear, based on separation, that would compete with that truth. But the truth is, who you are is all encompassing. The truth is, who we are is unalterable. And so the appearance of opposition could only happen in dreams and illusions, we use a word in this world called hallucination. When people get high and they hallucinate, in other words, they have all these wild, vain imaginings. And so what happens is, in our experience as human, we have these vain imagining of us being something other than what God created. We call it a personal self with a personal history, with a beginning and an ending, and all the activities in between. But today is the day that we declare our declaration of interdependence, our declaration of oneness. And so when you look back on the workbook lesson 191, the thought or the idea there further enforce or reinforce this reality. And the idea in workbook lesson 191 says, I am the holy, it says the Holy Son of God himself. Okay. Again, Course in Miracles is written in biblical terms, Christian terms, but it's not advocating for any one religion. It is what is most commonly known. The reason they use this language, but we're not going to allow language to become a block to what is true, what is pure. So I like to say it like this. I am the holy creation of God himself. Because we know that there is no gender in God. There is neither male nor female, as Paul said in scripture. There is neither bond nor free, but we are all one in Christ. That word Christ is an all-encompassing term that we use to describe that which God created. God created what he called Christ. Christ represents what? That which God creates like unto himself. So in reality, if you want to look at it that way, I am the Christ, the Holy Christ, God himself. Because there is only one of us. Because there's only one reality, and that is God, and there is nothing else. And so if we exist, we have to exist in God. Nothing exists outside of God but fantasies, dreams, hallucinations. God is the only source of life. And so our life has to be the life of God. And it's self-evident. The moment we inquire, the moment we ask, the moment we seek, and the moment that we knock, it becomes self-evident to us that who we are transcends what we can see, feel, taste, touch, smell. It's beyond our five senses. Who you are is beyond your limited ability to reason. It goes far beyond. And so we are, or I am, the creation of God Himself. And so in silence and in true humility, and see, false humility would say, no, God is the only one. That's right. God is in a space of His own. God is separate from us. God sits high, we sit low. We're just redeemed by the grace of God. We're just, we're just this, we're just that. That's false humility. Or we say it like this: oh, Jesus, He's the only one. So we make excuse for ourselves. That's false humility. True humility says, I am as God created me. True humility says, I am the creation of God Himself. That's true humility. False humility is a way to cop out. It's just part of the denial. It's part of the ego thought system to get you to see yourself as less than who you are, to see yourself as inferior or unequal to God or to each other. See, that's all a part of the world system, the way of thinking that we have been taught and trained and conditioned. But in silence, in true humility, it says, I seek God's glory. What is God's glory? Glory has to do with what? God's highest what? Glory has to do with the highest expression. And so it says, in silence and in true humility, I seek God's highest expression. To behold it. Where? In God's one creation, who He created as myself. God's highest glory is in His creation. And God's one creation is you and me. Paul picked it up in Ephesians chapter 1 when he says that we are to the praise of His glory. There is no glory apart from God. There is no glory apart from you. Why? Because you are to the praise of God's glory. You are the very extension of what God is. You have become in creation, you have become, and I have become, and all humanity has become we have become the substance and the evidence of God's glory. Yes, you and me. Not in our body identification, but in that which remains as God created. In our wholeness, our completeness, our innocence, our perfection, as God is. There are spiritual books that say that we are created in the image and likeness. That's an attempt. There's still some false humility in that statement. We are more than an image. We are more than being in the likeness of our Creator. And the writer in Hebrews got a little closer when he says, we are in His express image. Or we are the expression of His image. Well, when you look into a mirror and what you see, that's an image. That's a reflection. But who we are is more than a reflection. When you look into a aquarium and you see multiple fish. You would say, oh, this fish is like that fish, or this fish is in the likeness of that fish. Still, that's duality. Still, that's separation. We're comparing one thing to another. So we're not even in the likeness. In reality, we're beyond the likeness of our Creator, because that still conjures up a duality. That still conjures up two different entities. So the writers in what they call the sacred books made an attempt to raise us up, but that's still false humility, because in reality, what God is what God created, and what God created is what God is, and it shares the same essence, it shares the same being, it shares the same nature, not a different one, not an A and a B, or a 1 and a 2, not an image or a likeness. No. But who we are in this very moment. And you may not heard it this way before. But who we are in this very moment. Is the very person, or the very being. We're part of the one being that God is. And that's the true identity of who we are, when the Course says that we remain as God created us. As much effort as we put into being something that we're not, as much energy and as much passion as we put into making up a self, that is not the self that God made, as much as we have history recorded of humanity and what it has done to try to evolve itself, to find itself. None of that energy, none of that passion, none of that effort has changed anything. God remains as God is, and that which God created remain as it is. And so that speaks to our state of being, which is sustained by that which is the only source there is. And so at some point in our experience, some point in your experience, in humanity's experience, humanity will wake up and come to grips with its true reality. In fact, the world in all its forms is waiting for the manifestation of that which God created. It knows what it is. All form knows what humanity really is, who we really are, what our true status is as what the very creation of God. The trees of the field, as the psalmists say, clap their hands at humanity. The waves of the ocean, they bow to our feet, everyone. It says the leaves of the trees, they fall to provide a soft space for us to walk upon. Why? Because they know who we are. And so in this lesson 211, I am the holy creation of God Himself. Notice now, You can read this like, I am God Himself. That might be a big jump, a big leap. But eventually you're going to get there, because you're not going to find yourself until you what? Embrace the reality that you and God are one. Oh, it appears to be a huge leap, but it's not a leap at all. Why? Because we remain as God created us. It is but a recognition. It is but an awakening. It is but our reality. And just let me go and share just a few thoughts from the lesson 191. It says, here is your declaration of release from bondage of the world. See, until we embrace the reality of who we are bound, or we are in bondage to a way of thinking of ourselves that is way below our true identity. In fact, we're even acquiesced down to the point where we do believe that we are these bodies, which are doomed to what? Doomed to die. And that is very depressing. And so when we hold that idea, that's what it means here, that we're bondage to the world. We placed ourselves under the bondage of this world. But when we say that we remain as God created us, what we're saying is that we were declaring our release from the bondage of this world. Let me slow down a little bit. I know this is... You won't hear this on the 6 o'clock news, nor on the 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock gatherings on Sunday. You won't hear this. So let me slow down. So here is your declaration of release from bondage of the world. And here as well is all the world released from the bondage that we have placed upon the world by not embracing our reality. For those Bible scholars that are listening, and I'm one too, there's a passage that says that the earth groaneth and travaileth for the manifestations of what? The sons of God, or the God's creation. The earth is wanting to be released from its own bondage because humanity has not manifested itself as as its true identity. So the whole creation groans in travail, waiting on humanity to wake up from the dream of separation, wake up from the dream of guilt and fear and sin consciousness, so that it can be free. We hold the key to the world's freedom. You do, I do. It says, you do not see what you have done by giving to the world the role of jailer to the Son of God. It says, what could it be but vicious and afraid and fearful and shadows and punitive and wild and lacking all reason and blind, insane with hate? That's what happens to the world when when we don't declare our true identity. The world goes into a tailspin of viciousness, fear, shadows, punitive of punishment, wild, lacking all reason, blind to reality, insane, with hatred. Now you see the cause, the true cause of why we see these things happening among us. We are the cause of them. It says because what? We haven't declared our release. It says, what have you done that this should be your world? What have you done that this is what you see? Deny your own identity. There it is. When we deny our own identity, when we deny the truth of who we are, when we deny our oneness with the Father, when we deny our divine infinite self, when we deny our innocence, our wholeness, our holiness, when we deny that which God created is unalterable and never to be changed, when we deny that, it says this is the world that we'll see. He said, deny your own identity. And this is what remains. And so we see a world that's full of chaos. It says, you look on chaos. There you go. You look on chaos and proclaim it. It is yourself. There is no sight that fails to witness this to you. The whole world will communicate this back to you just by denying our true identity. There is no sound that does not speak of frailty within you and without. There is no sound, there is no breath that you draw that does not seem to bring you nearer to what? To your personal death. No hope that you hold but will dissolve into tears. Seem like nothing can be sustained in the world. It breaks down. All the systems of the world, they break down. All of the things that we depended on in time past, they seem to what? They seem to be crumbling. All the institutions, things that we one time thought we could count on, they're falling apart. Why? It says, deny your own identity. It says, deny your own identity, and you will not escape the madness which induced this weird, unnatural, and ghostly thought that mocks creation and that laughs at God. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and some people will say, where's God in all of this? And that's what they're saying here. We say, where's God? Look at the mess. Look at the destruction. Look at the disease. Look at the killings. Look at the insanity. Look at our politics. Look at our religions. They're the ones that are at the head of the fight. They're the ones that are, declaring that, they're the ones with all the guns and ammunition. The religious people. If you look back through history, they're the ones that start all the wars. If you look through history, They're the ones that says, crucify him. So it's in all the institutions, the science, the arts, the entertainment. It's all in the culture where we are denying our true identity. We're denying that we're one with each other. We're denying the brotherhood. We're denying the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. And thus you see the chaos. It says, you will not escape the madness. This weird, unnatural, and ghostly thought that mocks creation and laughs at God. Deny your own identity, and you assail the universe alone. You feel this sense of what? Loneliness. This sense of what? Being on an island of yourself. You mock the reality of your true identity, and you see yourself as body identification. And you see yourself always what? Subject to being attacked. Or under attack. Always subject to some enemy. This is what we see when we deny our true identity and our oneness with our Father. This is the psychological and mental effects that it have on you and me. That's why humans are so uncomfortable in their environment. If you look at all the other aspects of creation, like the animal kingdom or the vegetation kingdom, or if you look at the universe, you don't see a lot of fussing and fighting and bickering and no, they are at home in their environment. But humanity, we're full of anxiety, fear, guilt, sin consciousness, unhappy, low self-esteem, lack of, we're trying to find our worth. We're trying to find ourselves. It says, deny your own activity and you excel the universe alone without a friend. That's the way it seems. A tiny particle of dust against the many of your enemies. Deny your own identity and look on evil. That's what you'll see. You'll see evil, sin, and death. And watch despair snatch from your finger every scrape of hope, leaving you nothing but the wish to get out of here. You say life is not good. How could God create such a world and do this to me or do this to us? That's the conclusion we come to when we deny our what? When we deny our own identity. When we deny God as our identity, because God is who you are. God is what you are. God is why you are. God is even where you are. It says, yet what is it except a game that we play? Boy, have we gotten good at the game. He said, what is this except a game that we play in which identity can be denied? Because it's just a game. It's not real. You can deny your identity, but you can't change it. You can't alter it. You still remain as God created you. And God is the guarantee of that. You in a fixed system. I'm in a fixed system. We are what we are by God's creation, and we can't change it. Thank God. And we can now laugh at ourselves for the insane thought. We can laugh at ourselves now, knowing the truth, that we have awakened to the truth. We can laugh at ourselves, knowing all the energy and the passion that we put in to try to make something of ourselves. To try to add value to that which is whole and complete. All of the energy that went into making something or someone else lesser so we can be greater. All that was unnecessary. Holding grievances against others because of their race, their nationality, holding grievance against other because of their gender, or the way they love, or who they love, and how they love. All of these things, we put so much energy into condemning and judging, and none of it was necessary. It hasn't changed anything. It's like going to the movie and watching a thriller from Manila, watching a horror movie, or watching, you know, they're putting everything in these movies now. I mean, everything. We wonder what mind thought of that. How dark can we think? And it's like going to the movie, sitting on the front row, eating your popcorn and drinking your soda and enjoying the movie, knowing that the movie is just a movie, it's not real. And then at the end of the movie, you get up, you leave your popcorn box and your soda container in the chair for someone else to clean up. And you walk out, get in your car, and you go home. And you never have a thought about that movie being reality. No, you go back into your life. And so it's like that when we wake up. We realize that all of the stuff, all of the experiences, all of the events, all of the activities, all of the sensations, all of the relationships, all of the things that we gave ourselves to, was only an experience. It didn't change anything. I am who I am. I remain as God created me. And so you can laugh, like we go to the movie and laugh. You can laugh at the things that we once held dear, the things we once valued. We can laugh at them. We can laugh at ourselves. Because it all was for naught. All for naught. It was all a game that we played, in which identity can be denied. But in conclusion, after all the games, after all the movies, after all the energy and the efforts, and after all the crying and the tears and the sickness and disease and the poverty and the fear and the pain and the death and all of that stuff, after all of that, here's the conclusion. You are as God created you. You are as God created you. All else but this one thing is folly to believe. Everything else is folly. In this one thought is everyone set free. In this one truth are all illusions gone. In this one fact is sinlessness proclaimed to be forever part of everything, the central core of its existence and its guarantee of immortality. But let today's idea find a place among your thoughts, and you have risen far above the world and all the worldly thoughts that hold it prisoner. And from this place of safety and escape, you will return and set it free. For he who can accept his true identity is truly saved. And his salvation is the gift he gives to everyone in gratitude to him who points out the way to happiness that changed the whole perspective, your whole perspective of the world. When you wake up to the reality of your true identity, it changes everything. It sets everything in order. That which is real versus that which is unreal is no longer a confusion. There is no longer confusion. There's only clarity. There's only a realization that love is all there is. And that love is pure. And that love is always what? It is always present, everywhere present. It is a matter of from what point of view are you seeing? From what identity are you viewing yourself as well as the world? And so this reality that we are, this salvation that we have awakened to, it says that we give this to the world in gratitude. We give it to everyone because it points the way to true happiness and it changes our entire perspective. Remember the previous lessons that says pain is a matter of perspective. It said pain is a wrong perspective. And so our denying of our true identity as one with God, it distorts our perception. And it puts us in a place of self-deception where we deceive ourselves. But when we wake up to the truth and acknowledge and embrace our reality, that as He is, as God is, so are we in this world. There's a scripture in 1 John, I think it's chapter 3 for the Bible, for you Bible scholars, and I'm one too. I'm going to start at verse 1, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, behold. See, you can't really behold until you wake up. It's like until you wake up, you're in a hole. I mean, you really can't behold. Behold has to do with clarity. It has to do with Christ's vision. When you don't have that in operation, it's like you are in a hole and you can't see. But here the writer says, behold. Behold. He says, what manner of love? What kind of love is this? He said, what kind of love is this that the Father has bestowed upon us? What has God done? Do you mean to tell me? You know how it is when people find out, some what they call some juicy news, some juicy information. You say, child. They say, child, what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us. Child, did you hear that? Behold, what manner of love. This is what happens to the person that wakes up to his true identity. It's like they say, oh my God. When you come to discover who you truly are, you say, oh my God. Here the writer says, what manner of love? What kind of love is this? That the Father of all creation has bestowed upon us. And who is he talking about? Us. He's talking about what God had bestowed in creation when he created his only creation, which is humanity. God looked at himself and said, wow, basically, because he was looking at himself. And I'm not talking about visibly looking, but God became aware that all he is love. And that love is unalterable. That love is changeless. That love is full of mercy and full of grace. That love is innocent and whole and complete. Missing nothing, and nothing is broken in that love. And so the writer caught a glimpse of this. He said, behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be called. That we should be called. Here it says the sons of God. But we're gonna make that more universal. That we are the creation of God. That we are what God is. That we share the same life and the same being, in the same essence, in the same nature that God is. We, behold. Therefore, the world, as we have known it, don't really know us. Because it doesn't know the Creator. It doesn't know the source. And so the world can't teach us who we are, because it doesn't even know the source of our being. And then verse 2. First John chapter 3, verse 1. Now go to verse 2. First he said, behold. And now he's saying, beloved. Why? Because this manner of love that we are, just like our Father. There is no difference. That's what the writer saw, that he saw no difference. He said, beloved now, not in the future, not in the past, but right now. He said, now are we the sons of God, or now are we God's creation, right now. Now are we just like our Father. Now are we. Or now we have equality with God. Now are we the offsprings. Now are we the inheritance of the Almighty. That's what the writer saw. Now, not some future event happening, but right now, in this very moment, as you hear me speak, now are we the creations of God, and we always have been. That's why it says here in our foundational thought, it says, for I am still as God created me. It has never changed. It's never been altered. Out of all the billions of lifetimes, out of all the effort, out of all the ideas and ingenuity of humanity, none of those things could measure up to what God created. And so the writer here saw this, and he says, now are we the creations of God, and it does not yet quite appear what we shall be. In other words, he could only take so much of what he was seeing, but in reality, it does appear what we shall be. He said it does not appear what the end's gonna be. It doesn't appear where this thing is going. But what I see now, he says, what manner of love is this? What kind of God is this that will share his very own self? All of his very own self. He said, it does not appear yet what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, it's more like, but we know that when I accept the fullness of my identity, that's what he's saying. He says, we shall be like him. See, there's that likeness again, as though we're something different from who he is. That's That's part of that false humility where we don't want to embrace the whole thing. But we're going to embrace the whole thing today. It's not that we'll like him, we're going to be like him. Or he says, now are we like the very creation that God is. And we know that when we get ourselves together and remove the rest of these blocks that are a hindrance to us seeing clearly, completely. He says, we know that we shall be not just like him, we shall be him. I'm upgrading what he was afraid to say. He was instilling a little false humility, but I'm gonna upgrade what he said. This is what he wanted to say. We know that as he continued to appear, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as us and us as him. That's what he wanted to say. He just couldn't get his ego out the way. When I'm saying it today here in this October month of 2022, I'm here to declare the independence of all humanity. But that now are you the creation of God. And you remain as you've always been created. And there's no difference between you and God. There's no place where God in and you begin, or you begin and God in. You share the very same life, the very same essence, the very same being. That's what we are. That's who we are. That's our true identity. And when we embrace this identity, when we make this identity declaration, not only do we set ourselves free, but all the world go free. All the world go free. It says, this one holy thought, this reality that we've been talking about here, our oneness with God, our oneness with each other, our oneness with all living things. This holy thought sets everything free. It says one holy thought like this, and you are free. This is just one. And look, we're dealing with 365 thoughts of God. This is just one of them. It says one holy thought like this, and you are free. You are the holy creation of God himself. That's a fact. In fact, that is a matter of fact. And not just you and me, but all humanity, whether they know it or not. Their not knowing can't alter it. It just can give them a sense of having a nightmare. And with this holy thought, it says you learn as well that you have freed the world. The freedom of the world is tied to your freedom. You have no need to use the world anymore cruelly. You no longer have a need to be deceived or to deceive. And then perceive this salvage need in it. You set it free of your imprisonment. You will not see a devastating image of yourself walking the world in terror anymore, with the world twisting in agony because your fears have laid the mark of death upon its heart. Be glad today how very easily is hell undone. What is hell? It's the denial of our true identity. But it is easily undone when we embrace the truth of who we are. It says, we need but tell ourselves this: I am the holy creation himself. I cannot suffer. I cannot be in pain. I cannot suffer loss, nor fail to do all that salvation asks of me. And in that thought is everything that we look on wholly changed. A miracle has lighted up all dark and ancient cravings where the rites of death echoed since time began. For time has lost his hold upon the world. God's creation, you and me, everyone, has come in glory to redeem the lost, to save the helpless, and to give the world the gift of his forgiveness. Who can see the world as dark and sinful when God's creation has come again at last to set it free? You who perceive yourself as weak and frail with futile hopes and devastated dreams, born but to die, to weep and suffer pain, hear this and hear this clearly. All power is given unto you, and in earth and in heaven. There is nothing that you cannot do. Nothing. You play the game of death, of being helpless, pitiful, and tried to dissolution in a world which shows no mercy to you. Yet when you accord it mercy, will its mercy shine upon you? Our freedom is the freedom of the world. And when we begin to see clearly, now that the rain has gone, now that we have released all the false ideas about who we are, when we have given up denial and we have embraced and accepted the truth of who we are, as he is, so are we in this world. Who are we? We're just like him. We are him and he is us. When that level of embracing your true identity as your own self, it says, then let God's creation awaken from his sleep, and opening his holy eyes, return again to bless the world he made. We made this world the way it is and not God. And so now we bless the world. In error, the world began, but it will end in the reflection of our holiness. And he will sleep no more and dream the dream of death. Then join with us today. Your glory is the light that saved the world. Do not withhold salvation longer. Look about the world and see the suffering there. Is not your heart willing to bring your weary brothers to rest, those that are still asleep and unaware? They must await your own release. They stay in chains till you are free. They cannot see the mercy of the world until you find it in yourself. They suffer pain until you are denied its hold on you. They die till you accept your own eternal life. You are the holy creation of God himself. Remember this, and all the world is free. Remember this, and earth and heaven has become one. Do you see yourself in that story? Do you see yourself in that revelation? Do you embrace your true identity, or do you still deny it? Who do you say that you are? The Father says that you are not a body, that you are free, and that you remain as your Father created you. You are the holy creation of God Himself. And in silence and in true humility, you seek God's glory. But the end of seeking has come because we have discovered who we are as one with God, sharing the same life and the same being that God is. So the end of all seeking has occurred. And now are we God's creation. And we behold it in ourself, whom He created as His very own self. So it is true. I am not a body. I am free, and free indeed. And I remain as God created me. What you say? That is your declaration of interdependence. There's only oneness. And we all share in that oneness. That's lesson 211. Thank you so much for being here today. Oh my goodness, they go deeper and wider. But we have the capacity to what? Receive it all. We don't have to get into a state of false humility where we keep trying to separate ourselves or make ourselves something different than what our Father is. No, you're never going to be happy until you embrace the fullness of the oneness that you share. Even our denial, even our pushing away, even our unbelief has no capacity to change the truth that is true always. Embrace your reality. Therein lies your peace and your happiness, your joy, your all in all. You'll get comfortable with it. What kind of love is this that God has bestowed upon His creation? It's undescribable. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.